So a bloodbath across all markets over the past 3 days, with altcoins bearing the brunt in crypto. However, in this video, I'm going to be going over why now is not the time to panic and why this might be a perfect buying opportunity. So let's get into the charts. So starting as we always do then with BTC. Now, of course, the markets have been selling off relentlessly over the past few days, essentially since Wednesday on the FOMC day. And it's not just crypto, of course, all markets have sold off massively. The S&P itself did a 3% drop on Wednesday, which is one of the biggest days it's had in terms of losses. So it is market wide. It's not just crypto. However, let's focus on crypto, Bitcoin, ETH, Bitcoin dominance, and a couple of altcoins as well. And I'm going to explain why this might be setting up for a massive alt season a little bit later down the line. Of course, it all feels all doom and gloom at the moment, but as they say, buy the blood in the streets, and obviously be greedy when others are fearful when others are greedy. And that's actually played out very well over the past few days. Of course, everyone was quite euphoric and greedy going into the FOMC, myself included. I didn't think it was going to be a drop at all. I thought we were going to just continue the rally into Christmas. Didn't pan out that way at all. So now we're just going to have to see where we end up over the next couple of days. We could still get that Santa rally between Christmas and New Year. However, it's more than likely going to be a chilled period where obviously all the big traders in the stock exchange are taking time off. All the big money is going to be off on their holidays, and we probably won't see a huge move until January. But of course, that is all up in the air. We're just going to have to wait and see. But over this video, we're going to take a look at some key levels that I think we need to pay attention to. So on Bitcoin, currently at 94k, we have of course dropped a hell of a lot from the top. So we topped at about 108, and we're currently 15% down if we go from wick to wick, about 13% where we are currently at the moment. Now, of course, as we've talked about many times on this channel, in bull markets, it is very common to have 30% pullbacks on BTC. And of course, in the last cycle in 2021, in May, we had that huge 50% correction from 60k all the way down to 30. So whilst this is obviously quite scary, it could get a little bit worse, but let's hope not. In terms of the weekly time frame levels that we may come down to, we have got a weekly fair value gap down here at the top of it, being at about 89k. That's actually got some nice confluence if we go down to the daily time frame as well, with this daily level here at around 91.5k. and previous small consolidation on that daily time frame. So between 91.5k and 89.5k looks like a good area for BTC to come down and consolidate. Of course, if we lose that area, then we may well be heading into the low 80ks, where the bottom of that weekly fair value gap is at 81k. So got to take each level as it comes, each day at a time. Now, of course, we have had a big trend break on BTC yesterday. So yesterday was the first time we got a daily candle close below the daily moving average 21 since we got above it on the 11th of October. So huge trend, which is now broken. So it won't be surprising to see a little bit of, obviously this has been a huge uptrend, very fast moving, very few pullbacks. So it wouldn't be surprising to see a bit of consolidation over the next couple of weeks before the next big move. In terms of Ethereum, if we go onto the weekly time frame, of course, we deviated that weekly range high, and now we've come crashing back down. Obviously filled that wick out completely from last week. We've dropped below the weekly mid-range. We're currently now on that weekly moving average 21 at around 3-ish K. So I think anywhere, well, 3.1. I personally think anywhere between 3k and 2.8 is a fantastic, or 2.9k is a fantastic area to load up on Ethereum. Of course, not financial advice, but I think it's a really good opportunity. It's the weekly range lows. It retests this breakout level that we had back in November, and the risk reward is really good, because if we make a move back up to those weekly range highs, you get another chance at, essentially, if you miss this move from the election beginning of November, you get to ride it again. So that is a really good opportunity, in my personal opinion, if we get down there. Now, in terms of ETH BTC and alt season and all that kind of stuff, it looks like we're going to have to wait a little bit longer for that alt season. So if we look at ETH BTC, as we've talked about before, rejecting that monthly level of 0.04. We've talked about how big of a level of resistance it is all the way through 2018, 2019, and even into 2021. It was a huge level of resistance before we broke it in April 2021 and went on that crazy run. So big level of resistance, and on the weekly time frame as well, we've rejected the moving average 21, which had that confluence of that monthly level as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if ETH puts in another new low, maybe around 0.03 or 0.027, which is that next monthly level, and then perhaps the alt season can begin. If we take a look at Bitcoin dominance, so we talked about the potential of this monthly level of 57% holding as support. As we retested it, we talked about on the weekly time frame the need to create a lower high here on the weekly moving average 21. That obviously hasn't played out with the dump. Obviously altcoins have been absolutely decimated where compared to Bitcoin. So what's likely to happen here is we're running out of space to make a lower high and start a downtrend. What's probably going to happen more likely is we may well see Bitcoin dominance climb even higher as we consolidate and Bitcoin becomes the first mover out of this drop before Bitcoin dominance finally puts in a top, maybe in around 64%. Now, this would actually go alongside what we've seen in the previous cycle. So if we go back to 2020 on the weekly time frame, as we talked about last week, what we've seen before is we saw this small dip in dominance around the beginning and middle of November, before then a big surge and new new high in that cycle on Bitcoin dominance throughout December. That is pretty much what's happening here in this cycle. You can see we dropped at the middle to end of November, and now through December and into January, we may well make a new high. And of course, what happened then in the last cycle, beginning of the year, January 2021, that's when we topped on Bitcoin dominance, and then we had that massive alt season. So that is what could be happening. Could be the next play. We could consolidate, bottom in January. Bitcoin maybe makes the first big impulse. We might see a bit of a surge in dominance then, and then we finally top out in dominance. ETH-BTC finds a bottom maybe at 0.03, 0.027, and then the altcoins can finally start running against BTC or outperforming BTC. Now, in terms of altcoins, let me know in the comments below when you think alt season is going to begin. Let me know if you think that whether the top of the cycle might already be, because there's a lot of people talking on crypto Twitter at the moment about the fact that the Bitcoin high might even be in for this cycle. I personally don't think so, but of course, as we've seen over the past few days, just another reminder that anything can happen in the markets and nothing is guaranteed. So let me know if you think the cycle top is in, and also let me know if you think we're going to get an alt season and when that's going to be. Now, the thing I want to talk about is emotion. Of course, there's going to be a lot of that over the past few days, a lot of emotion, greed, fear, and that is what the market is built on. It's that strange phenomenon where no one wants to buy things low, but everyone wants to buy it when it's high because of the confidence it gives. Now, what I want to talk about is what I think may be setting up for that alt season if we do get it a little bit further down the line. And I think these two examples on DOT and NEAR, I've only picked them out because of the levels that I see. It doesn't necessarily mean that I think these are odds on winners or guaranteed or anything like that. It's just two examples of what I think are really good visualization of how I think things might go. So a term you might have heard or may not have heard before is bear market PTSD. So what that refers to is essentially where people get lulled into a sense of thinking or a sense of behavior where they think that every pump is going to fail and they want to take profits and get out as soon as possible or look to short. Essentially what happened throughout Bitcoin's run in 2023, the bear market PTSD, everyone thought, oh, it's going to fail, it's going to fail, it's going to fail. And it just kept going and going and going until we made new all-time highs. Now, I think that is going to be something that is going to affect people going in, or condition people going into the next alt season, where the market is conditioning people to think that altcoins are going to fail on the next run, if of course we do get one. So the levels I've marked out here on Polkadot is about $10 and $11, and you can see it was big support back in July 2021. And when we finally came down in May 2022 as well, put up a big level of support. And then when we finally closed below it, acted as resistance. It also acted as resistance in that March-April altcoin run that we got. We had a big spike up to about just short of $12. Weekly candle closed below $10.30, and then we collapsed. And again, this most recent run from the election up until 2 weeks ago, again, hit the exact same level, topped out pretty much the same. The wick was almost the same. And now we've come crashing down about 50% from the top of that wick. So what I'm alluding towards is the fact that if we do make a recovery here, and if actually DOT is in a really nice spot here at $6.27 or $6.40 at the moment, but we're sat on the top of that previous monthly range high. We've got weekly fair value gap, weekly moving average 21, and RSI 50. What I'm talking about is the fact that if we do bounce here and we do run up to this level again, I think a lot of people are going to be conditioned to think, right, this level has failed 3 times now. I'm getting out, I'm taking my profits, and they'll sell too much too soon. Now, that isn't to say that you shouldn't take profits on the way up. You should absolutely be taking profits along the way. But I think what a lot of people do is they'll sell too much too soon. And of course, that's depending on what your situation is. That's a personal decision. But I think they'll sell too much too soon. And when we do break this level, it's going to be an absolute ripper. You know, we'll go up very high, very fast. And the people that sold too much down at this level will then be scrambling to get back in at the highs, and then the market will finally turn on them then. And I also think that it works in reverse, whereby I think a lot of people are now giving up on altcoins. There's a lot of altcoin capitulation, especially, as I say, we've come up in March of this year, it failed. We've come up at the end of this year, it failed. I think a lot of people are now just going to be done with altcoins, going to be sticking to the majors like maybe Bitcoin and Ethereum, giving up, and that's why the market is going to reverse on them. We're going to come up, and then when we come up to this level, break that level, and on other pairs that are similar, and that's when people who sold altcoins at the bottom and capitulated are going to be trying to get back in when it's much higher. So I think that is what's going to happen if we do get that alt season a little bit further down the line. Same thing with Near Protocol, the same level here at $8.30. Now you could argue this is just in one big range high at $8.30, range lows at $2.86. And essentially we're just consolidating in this massive range, similar to what we did with Bitcoin throughout the summer, where we ranged between March and August. All right, technically it was a bit more of a channel where we were making lower highs and lower lows, but essentially coiling up before the big move and breakout. And even the same example here at 71k, the amount of times we tested 71k before we finally got that breakout and explosive move up, a lot of people were chasing this move up on Bitcoin. I think the same thing happens on altcoins. I think when Near finally breaks $8.30, then it's going to absolutely fly. Same with DOT. I think if and when it breaks $10, it will absolutely fly and people will be chasing it. And the same even goes for Ethereum. This 4K level that we've seen, if we just quickly get that on the charts, this 4K level we've tested 1, 2, call this a third attempt here in May, fourth, fifth attempt, or maybe 6 attempts we've had to try and break 4K. We've failed each time, and as I say, I think people will finally be giving up, capitulating. The market is going to turn. Alts are finally going to get their turn in the sunlight, and then once we break these big levels that we've tested many times, I think there'll be a massive explosion upwards, and that is what's going to bring a lot of people into altcoins, or the people that sold them earlier back in at the wrong time. And I think that is what will fuel the big alt season. So hopefully that is what's going to pan out. That's just my personal opinion, of course. As I've said multiple times in this video, no one's got the answer and nothing is guaranteed. So when we do, if we do ride things back up and you've got some regrets about not taking profits, definitely do take those profits. But as I say, be cautious about when we come up to these big levels of previous resistance, because this could be the time we finally break through. But as I say, repeat it again, that does not mean don't take profits. Obviously, take into account what your personal situation is, take the profits you need so that you're comfortable if we do suffer another drawdown like this, but also have enough so that if we do break through those resistance levels, you're not FOMOing back in. And of course, if we do break those resistance levels and you do want to get in, don't chase the pump, wait for those pullbacks. So on the back of all that, I hope you have a great Christmas. We'll be back in about 2 weeks' time in January, when hopefully the market is looking green rather than red. And I look forward to seeing you then. So drop it in the comments below. As I said before, do you think the cycle's topped? Do you think alt season's coming? And if so, what altcoins are you betting on? Have a great Christmas, and I'll see you in the new year.